Welcome to the Emo Social Club podcast, broadcasting to you live from emosocialclub.tv. I am Brian.
And I'm Lizzie, and we're here this evening with our new bestie, Leah. And thanks so much for hanging out with us tonight, especially after your run club, as we were kind of discussing beforehand.
Thank you. Thank you guys so much for having me. I'm excited to be here. Yeah, I had a little disclaimer before we started that I'm a little sun-kissed because I immediately hopped on here after I ran. So
Look, we were saying too, you're in LA. It's been raining in LA, so you know how we feel in Chicago. You're originally from New Jersey, right?
Hell yeah.
Yeah. So it's not like you're not used to just having gray skies for months at a time, but
yeah, it was very common in Jersey. I don't think I realized it until every time I come back, there's always a couple days that it's raining and I'm like, Jersey, it doesn't rain a lot. And then you come back and I'm like, oh, it really does.
It's anywhere besides LA. But now I think it's worth to get out there, run, enjoy the summer.
Well, yeah, exactly.
And we're saying it was sunny today, and here we are inside on the internet.
Enjoying the weather.
The beautiful weather here on our computers. But why don't you let the people know a little bit about you, who you are, what you do. We can also promote the new EP that just came out too. So tell us about yourself.
Yeah, well, yeah, my name is Leah. I started doing music full time in 2016. I say full time. It was a very huge part of my life, my whole life. But while I was in college, I was kind of taking the music thing a bit more seriously because I studied music in college and I was in an a cappella group that went viral. I was running the social media. Kind of started, I learned so much from that experience, from being a part of a group and running social media that honestly, this is common and this is the music culture to be chronically online and doing all of that all the time just to pop off. But I'm grateful because I've kind of been on social media since the beginning and have had that experience really early on. So I think that showed me how many people could really be impacted by music online. And yeah, I was doing one song a year for a little bit, moved out to LA in 2018 and put out my first EP in I don't remember. I think it was 2021. Yeah, wait. I think so. Or maybe it was 2020. Yeah, I think it was 2021. I lose track of time all the time. Yeah. So it was recently-ish. But yeah, then I just recently put out in February my second EP, which is Happy Never Ending. Went from a pop sound to a more pop punk sound. And yeah, I'm here to stay. Being emo has always been a part of my life. I grew up listening to a ton of music. I feel like I was more influenced from other people. So the people I was hanging out with, my family, I was getting influenced on jazz and some classics like classic rock and rock and roll and whatnot. But I feel like pop punk was something I accidentally stumbled on by myself. And then, yeah, the rest is history. I was like, I really like this music. It takes pop elements like techno from back in the day is now morphed into some sort of hyper pop. And, we have that alternative emo stuff that just kind of never gets old. And it feels the most like me. It feels very natural. I mean, I tried to do pop for a while. I really loved the surf rock and California beach pop vibes, but I don't know, my voice doesn't really lend itself as well to pop as it does to rock and roll and pop punk. So I think that's where I'm at right now.
I feel like if you had an a cappella viral video moment, I feel like it's almost like the progression of getting into pop punk that makes sense in a way.
I'm can you elaborate on that? I'm curious on your thoughts.
I feel I was never an a cappella. I can't sing for shit.
I was.
So I don't know.
And I had a lot of thoughts on this. I did a cappella in college, but I was in college a full 10 years before you.
Yeah, but what group? What school? We all know each other.
Well, probably not, only because I went to Monmouth, Illinois, which was very small in the middle of the cornfields. And we were, this is going to sound the most like dumbest thing I'm ever going to say. We got really tired of the rat race of the a cappella groups that were school formed. So we decided as a group of dudes to just break off and form our own little a cappella group. And we were out here doing our own thing. We didn't follow any rules like they told us to. We were singing songs that we wanted to sing and the way we wanted to sing them. Hope I made that sound way cooler than it actually was.
That sounds like very, very not typical. Well, kind of typical in the a cappella communities. Cause like what we call that is like you didn't make it into one group, so you started another group, because that happened a lot in college. I've seen it. My school went from like, I don't know, like 1 to 2 a cappella groups to I'm pretty sure there's 7 now.
That's too many.
So
Did you get bookings?
but there's, it's still cool. I encourage it. I no shade on anybody, because I don't know what I would have done if I didn't get into an a cappella group. I probably would have been really lonely and sad. So there's that. But that's cool. That's cool. Your story's cool.
Yeah. I mean, it was very like we were tired of like having to do stuff we didn't want to do and like play shit my freshman year, we were like, we're going on a tour. The year before they went to Scotland and they did like a few like performances in churches and it's like, yeah, awesome. Like, hope we're going to get a good trip. And they're like, we got it. We booked it. We're ready to go. We're going to Ohio. We're going to hit Dayton. We're going to hit Tiffin, Ohio.
Yes,
I'm like, where are these cities?
Tiffin.
Why are we going to Ohio? You went to Scotland.
They took all that money, Ryan. They were like, oh,
Yeah, they're like, we're
not
out of
again.
money,
You're
sorry.
going to Ohio. Let's go.
In Ohio.
But I have a huge love in my heart for Tiffin, Ohio, though, because for some reason in this big world, I have found my way there multiple times to be part of this like pro music camp that is at Tiffin University. I'm friends with some of the staff there, so I love them. Shout out to Brad. But hey, that's great.
It was just a very like, wow, I don't know what we're doing here, but we're just singing for Ohioans when we could be singing for the Scottish people. It's like, it's fine. But then we're like, we don't want to do this anymore. We want to step away from that. And we want to sing more contemporary songs. We want to arrange our own stuff. Was that kind of like were you doing more contemporary stuff in your group or?
I mean, like the way we picked our songs was we sat in a room for the longest time was 9 hours, and we played, every member brought in like 3 to 4 songs, and we listened through all of them and had this like vote down process. So most of the music was pretty like, I mean, there was some top 40. There was a lot of like folk, rock, indie pop was really big in our group. And then we narrowed it down to like a new set, and we'd have to like decide which songs of the new lists that we were like going through would fit with like half of our old set, because we do half sets. Like we would bring a half set over, add half a set, and then that's how we would lose songs and add songs. So I don't know, it was cool. Like it was very, very modern, very like, it was very pitch perfect, but we were like the like outcasts of like the school that all came together to like be in a group and like not rebel, but like, we didn't wear shoes. Like, I don't know. It was like a very hippie vibe.
Was that your get? Is that like we sing without shoes on?
Yeah, it's like barefoot and beautiful since 1999 was their like slogan.
Interesting.
I love them. I mean, I still have they're called Twisted Measure, by the way. Just shout out to my college a cappella group, which I happen to always bring up because it's kind of like where it started,
Yeah.
But
Weird musical skills, and also probably learning to be like a musician with other musicians too, and like having a group with you and how to like play off of everybody's strengths and what they do. It's like, yeah, sometimes if you're a vocalist, you can't just show up with an instrument, Like my instrument is here. I have it with me all the time.
Yeah, and we would do a lot of screaming at parties and then go to rehearsal the next day and be like, fuck.
Yeah.
We should not do that. That's college.
Yep. You have like dorm parties and you're like, oh man, I one time had people in my dorm room and I was playing My Chemical Romance and a dude just started crowd surfing in my bedroom.
It's iconic.
It's like, why are we doing this?
That's
This is
so
awesome.
that's so early 2000s teen movie bestie.
Yeah, it was. It was that was the one time it happened though. It's like, we could do that more. That should be cooler.
Well, Brian, why don't we just do it at your home now, your apartment? Make it modern.
No. It's lost its sheen. It's you know. It's not as cool anymore. But let's get into your current music. So tell us about the new EP, Happy Never Ending. I keep wanting to say happily ever after, and it's not what it's called.
Yes, that's like my favorite part is watching people get confused on the title because happy never ending is not a phrase.
Right.
I was sitting in the studio with my producer who made the whole thing with me, Chase Coy. He was do you guys know Chase Coy? He's an elder emo, and he was very big back in 10, 15 years ago.
Brian probably would know more.
He does the acoustic, very ballady, sad music.
Probably then.
Yeah, he had a song with Colby Calais.
Oh,
it was that time.
Remember Colby Calais?
I was a huge fan. I try to bring him up to so many people, and they're like, I don't recall him. But then some people are like, I have all his CDs. So it just depends on. I was more into the acoustic stuff back. I liked it all, but I was really into the acoustic, sad stuff. So, anyways, I was sitting in the studio with Chase, and we were trying to figure out how to fill the bridge. At the time, it was the bridge of the song. Now it's Kellin Quinn's verse, which was better than anything we could have ever come up with. We were trying to fill it up with phrases. And, I don't know, happy never ending. We were you're talking through, the concept of the album, what it's about. And then Chase, I think, just said, what about happy never ending? Because we were happy never after, happy ever after, never ending, and then put it together and it made happy never ending, which I now have tattooed on my hand, which is fun. You can't see it, but it's really fine writing, but it's, I don't know, I like it. It's like it enough to get it on my hand. But yeah, I mean, that EP was I just started making more rockish pop punk music. Got in a couple sessions with, I don't know if you know Mike Grubbs. He was on One Tree Hill. And he did all the little musical stuff on there. And he wrote 2 of my songs on the EP with me. So that was really cool. But yeah, and then I filled in some gaps with some other songs. I Guess I Like You Anyway. Just kind of wrote that in the car, the whole thing. And then I was like, I like this. Here you go. And now it's a lot of people say it's their favorite off the EP. So it's just really cool to see what I can create when I literally don't try anything, and I'm just here's a song. Yeah, and then I wanted a feature on FTS, had a couple artists that it was going to go to and never worked out, and so I put it on my Instagram story, and I was just like, hey, anyone want to feature on this song? And then Bimo Rouge, who at the time was a mutual of me and this guy, Katie Badlung, who also did a song with Kellin, which is how I became friends with him. And Bimo did a song with Kellin. And he tried out that verse. And I was like, I'm not going to try anyone else out on this. You crushed it. Let's just do it. It sounds perfect. Yeah. And then after that, I asked Kellin to be on a song, submitted it to him. He liked it, put his verse on it, and kind of how the album EP came about.
I feel at this point, it's not the 6 degrees of Kevin Bacon, it's the 6 degrees of Kellin Quinn, with how many people have collaborated with him and then been oh no, I know him. He's my bestie. And it's yo, what?
Yes, he's so I don't want to say talkative, but he's just so involved. He's so. And I mean, he's still touring with Sleeping with Sirens. They literally they were on tour while the EP released. So that was I was posting stuff and he was sharing it, but I'm like, dude, you're on tour. This is crazy. So that was really cool because it's he's still, being involved. But I say this every interview I do. And, Kellin's created this community and we're all low key friends now because of him. So that's fucking awesome. I love that came out of that.
He strikes me as the type of person who is this is something I really care about, and I want to work with as many people as possible and keep this community and this world together and going. And damn, good on you, man. In a lot of ways, an artist like him could just be an island and just be yeah, I'm just gonna take my money and move on and just like say I'm good. But he's like, no, I want to stay involved. And I'm like, damn.
Yeah, a lot of artists are doing that now. Like, or previous. I mean, I know he's still very active in his band, but the amount of artists that are either coming back for this resurgence or just like getting involved with myself or like, you know, younger or, you know, emos that are starting out in the scene, like people are becoming very active, like some of my idols. I'm like, okay, welcome back. Thanks for fucking looking at me and listening to my shit. That's crazy.
Yeah.
Thanks for acknowledging me. What the hell is this?
Yeah.
Like,
I think it's also interesting because I remember I saw a TikTok and it was somebody, I guess it's like they have an app for the service where you can like book an artist to like listen to your music and like feature and like submit a feature for them to be on. And I think Kellin Quinn was like probably like the most like reasonably priced. And I think that's also like a very inclusive way because they're showing other people who, listen, I get it. Like you have one hit on Sirius XM Octane, go off, sis. But like how much you're charging, I don't know if that's a cost equivalent. I feel like he's making it way more accessible for people to like actually work with him, which I think is really big.
Yeah, definitely. I honestly, at the time, so that website went MIA, and I don't know what happened to it. And there's no info on it yet, so I don't want to spread rumors. But Kellin was taking submissions via emails after that happened. But I got it on the website deal. But anyway, I don't know what happened to that. But yeah, it is a really cool way to get artists involved. I loved the concept. I loved the idea. It's like you're on there for a reason to collaborate. So that was really cool.
I would just do a cameo now. Just be like, hey, I just need you to say this. Like, don't worry about it. You know, just say this. And then it's like, just put it into the song.
It's like featuring.
Oh.
It's an idea.
I never thought about that. That's kind of cool.
I think there's some legality stuff that goes in there. I feel.
Well, I'm not going to read the fine print, you know. We'll find out later.
Yeah, Brian doesn't know how to read, so
I choose to read when I want to, and I'm like, oh man, not bad. Didn't read that.
Oh no.
I'll delete it.
Yikes.
But like the band Bill Murray has a feature of Caleb from Beartooth, because the two band, for those who don't know, both of them used to be in Attack Attack, and they did a song that was like Attack Attack referencing, and the feature is just Caleb Shomo saying, hello, this is Caleb, this is my feature, thanks. And that's how the song ends. It doesn't actually sing anything, just says this is my feature. And I'm like, that kind of counts. You could do a cameo of that. Just plug it as a tag at the end. Do some DJ tags in there, you know?
Oh, no. Just DJ Khaled thrown in there.
Okay. All right.
Maybe not. That's a lawsuit waiting to happen.
He's very litigious, but I would try it.
So also you were interviewed recently by Nick Major for Adobe, which is obviously, that's a really big interview with somebody. But during that, you'd also kind of circling back, you mentioned that you're a really big Secondhand Serenade fan. And obviously you were into that like more acoustic emo. So I'm also assuming you were potentially into like Never Shout Never.
Oh yeah. I know every single Ever Shout Never song up until a certain point. And then it started getting a little funky, the music that he was making. But yeah, big Never Shout Never fan. All in the same realm, you know, like all those artists. There was a lot of like MySpace bands, and I say it with quotes because I had never had a MySpace, so I didn't discover them on there. But I just like feel like they were really popping off on there. And they're all like acoustic. They have a little bit of like quirky little pop, you know, like melodies in the background, but they're pretty much pop punk. But you Google their names and like they don't do music anymore. They're either invisible, they're just not online anywhere, or they're very, very low key under the radar. And I name those bands all the time, and I'm like, I was so inspired by like Letters and Lights, Select Start, etc. And people are like, who? So it's like that realm of artists. Obviously, like Secondhand Serenade was one of the bigger ones in that, and Never Shout Never in that like pool.
I remember the MySpace days, and that makes me feel very old.
I also think too though that like those were a lot of like Tumblr bands, because I know I found out a little bit more about like those more quote unquote underground like acoustic acts during Tumblr rather than I was on MySpace for maybe like a few months before Facebook became big.
Gotcha. Yeah, Tumblr was definitely. I found a lot of. I found a lot of music through Tumblr. My old Tumblr username, which I think I changed it like a couple years ago, but I think it was I'm a sucker for that feeling, because it was a Rocket to the Moon reference, and I had that song as like my profile song. I guess Tumblr was more my time, because like I said, I'm only 27. I was around when MySpace was a thing. I just wasn't allowed to have it.
It was so good. Those are the golden days of the internet.
I feel like I missed out on a lot.
It was so good. Look, it was fine. There was a lot of those bands like I even put out like a bedroom pop like couple songs. They were terrible. They were just awful. But it's like just put it out on MySpace.
Do you have them saved?
I know. I kind of want to hear it.
I want to know now. What's your lo-fi bedroom pop by,
it's
bestie?
Not lo-fi. It's just trash. It's trash quality.
I need to know what this sounds like.
No, we're fine. But it was just sort of like that thing where like you had GarageBand on your laptop and then you just went onto myspace.com and uploaded the thing that you just recorded. And a lot of the time the quality wasn't very good. Me, case in point. But it was there and people could listen to it. And it was very, I'd say like there's a lot of authenticity to the experience of just like you're a kid in the suburbs who's like writing music and like, you know what, I'm just going to post this, and some kids like William Beckett of the Academy has just popped off and got a lot of attention after it, and it works out for some people. That's why I'm like, this is so much better than being discovered on any other website. Too nostalgic. I'm sorry.
It's okay.
Oh,
I'm 28, so I was on the Tumblr girly vibe, so I get it.
Yeah, same experience, same time.
Couldn't do it. Couldn't get into Tumblr at all.
Was it because you didn't become Tumblr famous?
I did have this like sense of like, no, I'm going to be MySpace famous. Like that's going to be my thing. And I never was. So we're not chalking that up as anything. I was very, very unknown. But it's like, yeah, I'm just going to stick to that. And then it just completely died out. I'm like, well, that was it. That was my opportunity. That was my only time. So we're out now. I'm just going to give up.
I feel like Tumblr was just a way for me to like express my feelings, and it was kind of public, but like I had friends I met on Tumblr. I have a friend that I'm like, I don't want to say we're close, but we still like check in with each other. And we literally just met because I was going through this situation with this boy and she was going through this situation with this boy, and we would just vent to each other on Tumblr, like publicly, like everyone could literally see our problems. And then we've stayed friends ever since then. We've never met in real life. I feel like it'll happen. It's going to happen one day. Been like over 10 years, but I definitely think that, yeah, it's cool for that. I got a lot of my feelings out through there. There was like one time, funny story, that my crush in high school at the time, who I did date, found my Tumblr, and I wrote like so many things about him on there. And I'm sitting in class with my little Toshiba computer, because like, you know, that's when they started giving like, it was, I don't know, it was like 2009 to 2013 was when I was in high school. So they started getting us like, you know, little janky computers. And I see that like, I guess I saw that he liked it or something. I don't know how I found out, but I remember sitting in my class and I just slammed the computer down to my friend, and I'm like violently shaking, and I'm like, what do I do? What do I do? He found everything. And it's like such a minor like part of my life now. I'm just like, this kid and I, we dated, then like he came out, and now he has a great, like, I think he's engaged and he lives in Australia, and we're friends now. But it's just like, it's so minor, but that was like the biggest thing that's ever happened to me at the time, and it was so scary, and it was all because of Tumblr and me being completely unfiltered publicly online, which people do now. But I've obviously learned my lesson now that the internet's gotten much bigger, and I decide what I share and what I don't share. It's up to me now.
I feel like Tumblr, you could be anonymous for a really long time, but now there's like no way for you to actually be anonymous. So it's like, well, if I put this out, there's like a 95% chance this person's going to find it and like be like, oh, that's you. And it's like, uh-oh. I'm in trouble.
I still have my Tumblr, and I don't think like anyone knows what it is, but I still kind of, I feel like I now write on it thinking like, oh, if that person I wrote about finds it, like that would be like cool. I don't know, but I still have some, but they're more poetic. They're more like, it looks like I'm writing poems online versus like, oh my God, I just experienced this, like RIP me, you know? So I don't know if anyone's ever going to find it, but I don't think anyone knows it, but I guess I don't really care. It's like, if you find it, you find it. You know?
You find it, you put the two together, then you're like, oh, yeah, I guess this happened so many years ago. This is no longer relevant. Thank you.
I mean, all my music is super like exposing of my feelings. So it's like, if you find my Tumblr that I still write on with exposing those same feelings in more of a poem form rather than like a lyrical form, like, so what? You still know everything.
It's kind of the same idea. I think like I've always held like all the old posts, you know, from way back in the day is like, oh man, I was such like a cringe teenager. And it's like, yeah, I needed to do that to get to where I am today. Like,
yes,
it was practice. Fine to be
now
cringe.
we're just cringe adults. It's
Yeah.
it's fine.
Yeah.
It's great. It's a circle of life.
Yeah. I never stopped being cringe. I'm just older now.
Relatable.
I think it's always good though, like when you explain to other people like the levels of cringe, like, oh, that's good cringe. No, that's bad cringe. And then they're like, what do you mean? Why is it bad cringe? You're like, all right, let's talk about the differences of good and bad cringe.
Speaking of potentially bad cringe, we haven't seen the Mario movie yet, but let's go ahead. That was my transition into that. But
Look at Brian.
I know, I'm working it out. I'm like a real podcaster. We haven't seen it yet. And so we're just going to rate it and give our review of it without any context or knowledge of the movie. But since you are a Nintendo fan and have talked about this every time, do you have any thoughts on the Mario movie going into the weekend? Are you going to see it this weekend? Or are you going to wait? Or are you going to see it eventually?
I'm going to see it just so I could say I see it as like a Mario Nintendo fan. But I kind of got into like a little argument with someone about this the other day. Not like a real argument, like kind of just like a little debate about the purpose of this movie, because it kind of ties into Nintendo World and the fact that Nintendo World, other than it being an incredible experience visually, like it truly was like an amazing visual experience. But along with that, and then the previews I've seen for the movies, is that they are making these things for children. And I get it because, you know, that's how I discovered Nintendo. My older cousins, who were also kids at the time, showed me, who was like 6 or 7, and that's how I fell in love with Nintendo. But I feel like Nintendo's audience is like our age, like our Gen Z millennials that have played it their whole lives. And so, you know, when I like, we all play, I don't know about you guys, but like I know so many people my age that play the Switch. Like I literally watch like middle-aged men on YouTube play the Switch for hours. So I don't know why. It's just like they love it so much and I love them. And it's the coolest thing. And it gets me so excited. So it's not like they shouldn't be like exposing Nintendo to a younger audience. I definitely I'll show anyone, like my cousin's child and I play like an old Super Mario game on their like Super Nintendo system back at like their parents' house, and like that's cool because that's what they did to me, you know, so I can do it to their kid now, and like we can play together, and that's how we bond, and that's how like he grows a love for Nintendo. But it's like I don't know, Super Nintendo World was made for like toddlers that don't give a shit about it. I feel like when I was there were a ton of kids who didn't want to be there, and it was just because their parents were there and they wanted to be there, but everyone's still trying to cater to the kids. That's how I feel like the movie is going to go. But I hope I'm wrong. I really hope I'm wrong. I also think they're just like, I love like modernizing things. Like I love putting it out there and making it hype and like blowing it up. Like that's the coolest thing. But I feel like, I guess part of me doesn't want Super Nintendo, or doesn't want like Mario, like the Mario franchise, to be extremely mainstream as well. So, a hot take.
No, I think that's a fair take. I agree with you. I think there's like this sense of like people our age of like the nostalgia of it, and like we want it to like follow us even though our tastes change. And there's just no way that like it's not going to be that their major audience is kids who have the time to play video games all day and will buy the merch and will buy. My experience with Pokemon has changed a lot over the years, and I'm like, man, you just need to make like a Pokemon game focused to adults. And then I think about it and I go, that would sell 2 copies. No one wants that. No one wants that. But then I look at like YouTube, like you said, there's like YouTube people in our age range that are like making plenty of money just playing Pokemon and Mario games and all this stuff on, and like, okay, maybe it could happen. But I don't know. I guess it is like just they know their audience is going to be small kids and not big adults.
Big adults.
Like I'm not going to fit on a lot of like kids amusement park rides. So I'm like, I don't want to go and then be like, I can't like
you could
ride a ride.
No, it's just not. It's not fun. It's not fun for us.
Yeah.
Like those rides were not. They weren't it. They need some work. Also, introducing like AI or like augmented reality and like virtual, not AI, but like virtual reality and like all that to a ride. I guess at this early in time, it just didn't feel like up to date with what it could be in the future.
Interesting.
Yeah, that feels a little like you could build it, or we've got this really neat app and you can just look at your phone and you'll see all this stuff. Like I'm at an amusement park, just make the thing, build it.
Just get me more immersed in it and call it a day.
That's exactly what it was like, which also disappointed me because I was really expecting like a motion, like even put like an IMAX movie in front of me. Cool, do that. But like, don't have me put on these goggles that I could still see the real life out of and then look at this tiny screen that is not even a screen. It's just a clear shield that sees real life and the things. I don't know. I mean, I own like 2 VR headsets and this felt like it should have been, I like my VR headsets at home would have done a better job in that experience than the Super Nintendo World experience. But I know they're working on it and, you know, no hate because I love Nintendo. So I don't want to like hit on them.
But you think that this movie is like to kind of promote the amusement park and vice versa?
I think maybe, but maybe I just have no concept of what it actually is. And I'm making this up in my head, which is not unlike me, you know? So I'll see. And then I'll come back with like a better, I just had an overall thought about how they are catering it just to kids. Whereas like the market's bigger than that, like the nostalgia market, I think. But yeah, I mean, again, no major hate.
I think if they try to remake, I don't know if you guys saw, but on the red carpet for the movie premiere over the weekend, Anya Taylor-Joy, who voices Peach, she actually wore like a pink jumpsuit. Like if they marketed that towards adults, I'd buy it. I'd buy it. Do it IRL. Let's go.
Even like Halloween costumes, like make them like, I don't know. That's kind of cool. I didn't think of that. I like that.
My frustration, my disappointment, my like fear of it was kind of confirmed when there were articles about how Seth Rogen looks like he's not giving a shit about it. Well, like people like Jack Black and Chris Pratt and Charlie Day are like kind of giving it a lot more. And then Seth Rogen's just like, yeah, I don't know, man. I'm just in the movie. It's like, ooh. I don't know. I want it to be good. I want it to be fun, but I also kind of feel the same way of like, probably not for me.
Yeah, we'll see. Maybe we'll have a different opinion once we all watch it.
Yeah. And then we're going to come right back here. All of you
have a full review.
Yeah. All of you listening will
Recap
get
the
our
entire
full,
thing.
full take on it.
Full spoilers. Everything for everyone.
Also, I have to quickly side note, shout out Unsigned Pop Punk for rating the Twitch just now with all their people that were watching their stream. So that was really cool. I'm not sure. I know there's still some in here right now, but thanks, guys. Thank you for coming
Amy has
in.
brought
awesome.
some people to us before. So it's like the same sort of thing where we keep just like building the community up too. So
I love that.
Yeah.
I know. I love that so much. It's just like a bunch of cool people coming together, and that makes my heart happy.
we've like, and like we started this pre-COVID, but like then during COVID, it obviously was like everybody's just on the internet. So it's like, here we are all joining each other in Twitch chats and coming to everybody's streams and checking everybody out on the internet. And now it's like, cool, we're out doing our own thing, and yet we still find our ways like back to each other as a community. I'm like, see you. We love that.
Support.
So bringing it back around. Now, to get into the nitty gritty of it all, which Mario character do you personally identify as?
I mean, I've always had like, I have definitely Yoshi. I feel like everyone has like it's a very dusty Yoshi that I haven't picked up in like a year. It's very, I feel like cliche to be, oh my gosh, this is really dusty. That's embarrassing. I just like don't move things and then they sit. And how do you dust like a stuffed animal?
Do you just like do this?
I have no idea.
No, because then wouldn't it like just spread and get dusty? He just had a little bit of fuzzies.
It's fine.
But I don't know. I feel like I really love Yoshi. I feel like it's a really common one, but there's just like, how could you say no to this face? Like it's literally like, he looks like a frog, like whatever. What is Yoshi? I forget.
Like
he's a dinosaur.
No.
Oh,
A dinosaur.
okay.
Like a turtly
Mario-
dinosaur.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know
That's
how it
right. They
works.
lay eggs.
Yes,
Don't
they lay
They have
eggs,
the eggs.
and they throw them at enemies. No,
The basics.
yeah, they pop out of an egg. They also eat enemies, turn them into eggs, and throw those eggs at other enemies.
Damn.
But those eggs don't
Right.
then hatch into a new Yoshi, a smaller version. It's
Baby Yoshi.
yes,
Very interesting.
yeah. We should definitely send some researchers out into the wild to find out the reproductive
The
habits
Yoshi
of the
lore.
Yoshis. But for now, they just pop out of blocks and we get what we get.
I always just think that they're all mythical creatures. I keep forgetting that they actually, like, all of them represent Mario and Luigi are in fact human beings.
Plumbers.
Plumbers to be exact.
Listen, they're in the trade work. They're probably in a union. Good for
they
them.
were not in a union. This is known from their. I watched a little bit of the cartoon, the old cartoon.
Oh.
It is a fever dream. It is just inappropriate if you've ever played a Mario game to go back and watch this. Just, I don't know where the lore comes from. I don't know who wrote it, but it's there. They like go back in time and they're like experiencing the world from the dinosaur times. I don't know. I have no idea. I could not explain it to you. It's like the weirdest shit.
Is that like a Yoshi cartoon or a Mario cartoon?
It's a Mario and Luigi cartoon. And I remember Peach may have been there. Fever dream. I literally could not tell you what happened.
It might
in
have been present.
Yeah, it's like the 70s. I don't know what they were doing. They were like, this game is popular. Make a cartoon. Put it on Saturday mornings. The kids will love it. It's like, this doesn't make any sense.
I feel like that's the movie. That's
That's the movie.
again.
What if they just tap the people who did it before? Like, hey, you did this. Can you do it again?
Exactly.
Make us another one.
Make us
Lizzie,
So what?
you got to answer what Mario character you identify as now.
Oh, I usually I don't know, when I play like Mario Kart, I usually play as like Daisy or Rosalina. I fucking hate Birdo though with a passion.
What about Birdo upsets you so much? This sounds like it would be a really interesting like therapy question. It's like, so what is it about the Birdo that makes you upset?
you in your real life? No, there was just one time I played Mario Kart and Birdo like absolutely demolished me. This had to be probably like 10 years ago. Never forgive her. She's just a annoying hater.
She looks like a pick-me girl.
Yes.
Damn.
Yeah.
I'm like looking at this photo now and I'm like, you're trying a little too hard. I don't know.
Like she's all over Yoshi too. She's like, Yoshi, pay attention to me. It's like, no, Birdo, shut the fuck up. It's like, go away. Where did you come from? No one asked you to be here.
Oh,
Tyler's
God.
episode
The worst,
is now Birdo is
female
the ultimate pick-me.
stereotype.
Yeah.
This is a Birdo hate stream.
Wow. This is I'm seeing a lot of the same anger I have about Kingdom Hearts in your takes on Birdo, and I'm very excited about this. Birdo slander is heavily allowed in the chat.
Yeah. Fucking Birdo. Anyway, Brian, who do you identify with?
Waluigi.
Fuck, I hate that for you, but I can make sense.
Come on.
His little
You're
spider
both
arms
little-
and legs.
Yeah.
You're both lanky.
If
boo-boo
Waluigi
boys.
stands straight up, like, because he in every picture he's always just kind of
Yeah.
like hunched in and he's like curved in. If he stood straight up, he's like 8'2". Like he's like the tallest human
that's
being of all
spooky.
time.
I don't
yeah.
like that.
But he like just is constantly like hunched over. And I'm not.
So are you someone's sleep paralysis demon is what I'm hearing,
Waluigi
Brian?
is
That's kind
yes,
of weird.
Yes, 100%. Waluigi is the best. He's just awful. It's a terrible character design. I love him so much. I always play as him in Mario Kart. Yeah, that's the one.
Every time I pull up a photo every time to get like the real like full experience of these descriptions. I mean, I know what they look like. It's just part of the process. I'm like, oh yeah, I could see that.
Yeah. My way of so like the Birdo slander you're saying, my thing would be that if I played Mario Kart or Mario Party and I lost to one of the characters, I would immediately put on Smash Brothers and I would just wallop the person that I lost to. Like,
Oh my god, Brian.
all
That
right.
sounds so personal.
Yep, I made it
Are
a
you
personal
okay,
thing.
bestie?
I said, okay, well, DK beat me. Let's get in a match. Let's handle this on top of the castle. Let's turn off items. Let's just
Wait,
let's
here's
hash
the thing.
this
Does
out.
Waluigi have a theme song like DK? It's like DK.
No, there is no
Donkey.
DK
See,
rap.
he's not that
Unfortunately,
cool. He's not that cool.
Waluigi's not even a playable character in Smash. So, you know, yeah.
I never realized that.
The community was in an uproar when he was not announced as a playable character in Smash. I joined in. I was part of that uproar.
No.
I had words. I was like, you're going to make every other Mario character playable in this. Birdo's not included, but nobody gives a shit. They're on
Yeah,
your
fuck
side,
Birdo.
Lizzie. Yeah. But they said, no Waluigi, we riot. And then we still all bought the game and played it. And weren't worried about
You know what the best games, considering like Waluigi, is the Wario Inc. games.
Yep.
Are incredible. And I also have a little bit of a problem with the newer ones because, again, this is just like my whole theory of them like not giving a shit about adults playing their games and just basing it to children. Because like I will literally, and it, you know, okay, I was a kid at the time. Maybe it felt like, you know, an adult game, but I'll go back and play old Wario games or like watch streams of it, and it will be so like crude and raunchy and different. And then the new ones are so like not censored, but they're just cute and they're not that challenging. I beat like I think I've beat all the Wario Inc. games, but yeah, it's not the same anymore either. I'll still play them for the nostalgia factor of it, and I love his like little franchise and like his business that he has going on and all his little employees or whatever the hell. But I don't know, it's just not the same. But I do like those games. They've been my favorite. I feel like they've been kind of like pushed to the side, and there's a really niche community that like still talks about them. But they're some of my favorite, you know, Super Mario franchise games.
I think just like Nintendo needs to get on the level that Sega is, because Sega literally came out with a murder mystery game that Sonic was murdered. So I really think that Nintendo needs to come out with the same energy.
I need to play this game so bad, but they just randomly were like, all right, we heard all your feedback about the Sonic games, so we killed him. And the game is just Tails and Amy solving Sonic's murder. It's like Luigi's Mansion, but Mario is actually dead. Mario is actually a ghost. Is this where most of the Nintendo conversations you have go?
Like this dark or
Yeah.
I mean, it's mostly just me raving about it. It sometimes turns into like Well, that's not Nintendo, but I sometimes go into The Sims. I mean, I did play The Sims on Nintendo system, so I would go off onto that. That can get kind of dark sometimes because of where it's turned into.
Fair.
But it's never. I mean, I've been really into the Mario games most of my life. I've played them, but I recently got really into the Zelda games, like as an adult. And I feel like Zelda actually did a really good job with. Maybe that's where like the adult section lies, is within the Zelda games, because all they're doing is remaking their old games, and it still feels like nostalgic and really good and cool. Whereas the Mario games do feel like they're turning more childish. Like Yoshi's Island for the Switch, I can't even get past that. It is so boring. But Yoshi's Island for the DS was like one of the best games I've ever played. But yeah, they don't turn into, I don't usually slander too much on Nintendo when I talk about it, because I do, like I said, I love like the Zelda franchise and just like everything about Nintendo. But you know, it got a little dark this time.
That's fine.
It happens.
I mean,
That happens.
I'm not trying to go dark and say that Waluigi is just an 8-foot tall demon standing in the corner of your room as you try to sleep.
He's basically the Hat Man when you take too much Robitussin DM and you're like, ugh.
Oh my god.
And then you're like, oh, he's come back to collect payment.
But sometimes, you know, we just end up there.
Oh, that's Tom Nook. He's
Tom Nook, he's in the corner like, where's my bells?
That's an adult game. You're literally in debt.
And you think
That's
you're
why
having
it caters to
fun.
us.
That was like at a certain point a peak of COVID of like, okay, we all understand that Tom Nook is a problematic landlord. We all just owe him money now. Everyone
We came together.
Everyone who owned a Nintendo Switch owed Tom Nook money for a short period of time.
Like for the most of the time, do you ever not owe him money? Isn't that the whole point of the game?
No, you can get to a place where you've paid off.
Yeah,
everything
but then
with
like
him.
if you're like, oh, I'm paid off, then he's like, oh, but do you want to upgrade your house?
Yeah.
Right.
You're like, cool. Well,
You're like,
you know,
damn, I think I do.
you want more rooms? That'll cost you 300,000 bells. I'll see you in a minute.
Oh my god.
Beautiful game. Beautiful game.
But what didn't cost you 300,000 bells, hopefully, is when you played your South by Southwest showcase with Smart Punk. So how was that?
Didn't cost me 300,000 bells, but it did cost a lot of money. It's expensive to travel and hire a band. So it's still very relatable. No, that was one of the coolest experiences ever. I've never been, it was like a makeshift Warped Tour vibes, which was the whole point of putting it together. So it kind of felt like bringing like that punky community, in Austin, Texas. So that was super fun. I did fly out there for the week during South by Southwest. Never been to a South by Southwest before. Definitely would do it differently if I go again. I would go again to do more shows. I'd line up more shows for myself. But as like someone who came there by myself and like wandered the streets of Austin, Texas, like every single day for like an entire week straight, I did get invited to some industry events, which were really cool. But at the same time, I was like, what the hell is going on? What am I doing? And then I was just like, oh, there's a bar. Let me just go meet people. And then I would just be out all night. But it was really fun. And then at the end of the week, it was the performances during the Smart Punk showcase, which was super cool. It was like 3 stages, 60 bands, 2 days, tattoos, free tattoos, a lot of like drink sponsors. So there was like a lot of like tastings and whatnot, and I met a bunch of bands and befriended a handful of people. Yeah, so very cool experience. Never done anything like that before. Hope to do more things like that in the future, but that was a very, very fun time.
Do you have more shows coming up? Because I guess I realize like you don't. Do you have like a band that you play with like all the time, or are you like how do you do it now?
It's something that I'm trying to change, but as like maybe like a adjustment thing. Right now, I hire a band in what state I perform in. I've been been working pretty well. I have like my like live Ableton session set up pretty well, and I usually just hire a drummer. And I've had to do that numerous times. Or if I'm like at emo nights, I don't have to. There's not usually any musicians, so it's just me and some tracks. But yeah, I want to have a full-time band. I want Leah to be a band. I've been kind of like saying that for over a year now. But I am moving to Nashville in next month from LA. So my whole goal is to kind of put out feelers for like more of a permanent band, whether that's one person or numerous people, because once no shows yet, but working on some things, when I tour, I would like to have a band that like wants to write with me and be more consistent and like go on tours versus like, okay, I'll hire you for that, which this might happen anyway, but I'll hire you for this tour. We'll do it. And then maybe we'll never play again together. You know, I don't know, but hopefully that's not the case, but you know, it happens. Even the bands that I've gotten to play with in like Nashville and here in LA and Texas, I would play with any of them again because they've all been incredible. So it's always been a good experience, a little expensive. But you know, it happens. It's all part of the game. And yeah, I guess that's like the big news is kind of the move, but I just want to be closer to home and then in like a good home base to when I go on the road, you know, so it's like LA, there's shows over here, but if you like, I notice a lot of my friends that are touring are usually flying to the East Coast, doing a run and then eventually making it back here. So I think maybe it'll be easier. I don't know. We'll see. I'm just guessing.
I feel like you get more like areas on the East Coast that are easily like accessible via driving. So I feel like that's probably that makes sense. Where in like California, you have all of California, and then you're like, okay, do we go to Montana?
Yeah, which I would if that was like the route. You know, I'd make it work. But yeah, I've traveled the East Coast just like by car and by plane numerous times because I went to school in North Carolina and I'm from Jersey. So I would constantly make that drive multiple times a year. So I already feel comfortable with that and know what that's about. And yeah, so I mean, we'll see. We'll see how it all comes together. I'm hoping my theories and anticipation for that. I don't know. I hope it's right.
I saw a meme the other day that was like when bands are announcing their Midwest show, and it's like the scene from The Office where Oscar's just like, where Dwight? And I've noticed that a lot of bands are not really like hitting a lot of the Midwest right now. And I'm like,
yeah,
why are we so ignored? And it's like, maybe is that like we're doing California, we're doing the East Coast, and then we're heading home, maybe to the other side. But they're like, we'll catch you later. So how do we get you to play in the Midwest, and specifically, obviously, Chicago? I don't want to drive that far.
I know so many people, and actually, I feel like a lot of them have been from podcasts. Like maybe the Midwest is just creating a lot of podcasts, but I feel like a lot of them have just been I met through like these types of interviews and conversations and stuff. And I'm like, well, I feel like maybe there'd be a turnout if I showed up. I know some people want me to come that way, but I mean, I don't even know, like, how do I get myself to perform on the East Coast? Like it's all up in the air right now, but hopefully I've noticed that it has been a bit neglected when like my friends are, showing their tour stops and I'm like, where, you see some states left out. So I get it, but It's kind of lame.
It's like, there's no way everybody is on Riot Fest this year. Like there's no way all of you guys, like, where are you? Come here.
Yeah, the All American Rejects tour is mentioned in the chat about how it's not even going to New York City.
That's interesting.
Yeah, and it's not coming through Chicago either. And I'm like, why is it that like even these like massive tours are like, yeah, catch you later? It's odd.
I have no idea. That's a great question.
Iceman Ritter respond to the, I don't know. was going to say allegations.
Tyson Ritter, I'm going to send an email to you and I'm going
Yeah.
to say, hey, why? By the way, come on the pod. Thank you. Goodbye.
Yeah. We're emailing Tyson right now. While we do that, this is my shitty transition. I'm not going to do it. Before we wrap up the pod recording, we're going to hang out a little bit over on Twitch with everybody who came through. So if you guys got any questions in the chat, make sure to get them ready and we'll talk a little bit more over there. But before we do that, I want to give you a chance to once again, like shout out the EP, where people can go listen to it, how many times they should listen to it. It's 5 songs, so you can just listen to it on repeat. Get those words learned, get those streams in. And this is where everybody can find you on the internet and follow you and reach out and tell you how much they like the EP.
Yeah. Again, my name is Leah. If you're looking it up on streaming services, it's going to be with spaces. So L space E space A. Pretty simple. And then on social media, it'll be lolitslea everywhere you literally go on the internet. That is my username. Has been since not internet was a thing, but since social media was a thing. So feel free to check that out. I did just release Happy Never Ending in February of 2023. And yeah, the amount you should stream that, the amount of times, up to you. Don't get tired of it, but I appreciate the streams, It's a fun listen through. I do it often. I just to kind of reflect back on what I'm doing in my life. And yeah, that's thank you guys for having me on the podcast. Yeah. I appreciate being a part of the Emo Social Club now.
It's now that we're like building up this community with everybody and make sure that I was going to say burn out the CD, but obviously it's streaming, so you can't burn it out. So burn out your computer on streaming the new EP, Happy Never Ending. I don't know. I don't think burn out your computer is like a good one, but I'm going to go with it. And we're going to try to make that a new thing where you're just.
Nobody actually burn out your full computer though. That's on you. We're not the liability here.
We will
blow
not
out your speakers.
Blow out your speakers.
Blow out your speakers.
Yeah.
Play it so loud that they break, but then your neighbors get mad and then everyone's enraged.
Go check it out. And while you're checking it out, this will be a podcast too, so you can listen to us there. But make sure, you go follow Leah everywhere. I also like that you have the same username forever and it's always been there. I'm really wish
every
I thought
time
of that.
a new social media platform pops up, even if it doesn't pop off, I go on there and claim the username. Mm-hmm. When TikTok was Musical.ly and then it started to turn into TikTok and not everyone was on it, there was actually somebody who had my username and I was devastated. And then eventually I did ask them if they'd like to give it up, but I think they just got off the platform and then I claimed it, which was oh my goodness, I don't know how I got that lucky, but it has been the thing. lolitslea, just since social media, it's not very clever. It's kind of basic, but it's just been the thing. So
it's simple. It's easy to remember. It gets people coming back.
Yeah. And it's got your name in it. So people know, I know who that artist is. And now, so make sure you're following, make sure you're listening. We're going to go and chat with everybody in the chat on Twitch. But in the meantime, Leah, thank you so much for being on the pod tonight.
Yeah, thanks.